Hi, Kat from Standing Stone Kennels, and Rogue is here running around the backyard somewhere. I don't know if you can see her quite yet, but we're going to do a live video today on collar conditioning your puppy to recall. So little Miss Rogue has definitely gotten more independent as time has gone on, which is typical and normal of a puppy. So when we go outside, she decides she wants to run off and do her own thing and isn't really motivated to recall for me for treats and things like that with the positive reinforcement that we've been working on so far. So now it's time to use the e-collar with negative reinforcement. So what that means is we're going to use the vibrate feature on this e-collar, and she's going to learn to shut that vibration off by complying and doing something that she already knows, which is coming to us when we call, which is what we've taught her using the positive reinforcement. So the first thing I'm going to do is call her over to me. And I've got my clicker and my treats. Rogue. Good. So now that I've got her over here, I'm going to fit the e-collar to her. Now this will be the first time she's ever had an e-collar on, the first time we've ever used one on her. So it'll definitely all be new. So something important to keep in mind is we need the collar to be snug enough. Even though we're only going to be using the vibrate feature today, we want it snug enough that she's feeling that constant connection and contact with those contacts on the collar, as well as we don't want it too snug that she's choking or anything. A good rule of thumb is I should be able to cinch that collar down tight with 3 fingers underneath, and then when I pull those fingers out, that's kind of my little safety gap, and she's not too tight or too loose. Also, keep in mind you want to put that collar up around the smallest part of her neck, not down on her shoulders, because if you snug it down up here and it rides up, it's going to get loose. So we've got that on her. Now I'm not going to use the collar immediately. She's got it on her. We're going to build some momentum and do a few reps of calling her to me, using the clicker and the treats, and then we're going to start overlaying that e-collar with her coming, as well as she's still going to get a few treat rewards. I'm going to explain this now because as I'm doing the process, I might not be able to explain things, and timing's kind of important when we're working with dogs. So when she finally does feel the collar, most likely she's going to dance around a little bit or itch at her collar because she's feeling this vibration that she's not really sure what it is. And I just need to help get her focus redirected through that, get her to come to me, and as soon as she comes to me, that collar is going to shut off, that vibration's going to shut off. I can't let it shut off before that just because she's itching at her collar or doing a little dance, because the whole point of using the e-collar for collar conditioning and using the negative reinforcement is that she's going to learn to turn that collar off, that vibration off, by doing something that she already knows, by coming to me. So she needs to get all the way to me before that collar will shut off. So we're going to do a few reps here with our clicker and our treats and our target here, which we've done a video in the past showing this process. Rogue. Good. Let her wander away from me a little bit. Even just having the collar on, she's not feeling anything right now. She's like, this is weird. I'm going to itch at it a little bit, which is fine. Rogue. Here. Good. You got some fluff in your mouth too. Let me grab that out of there. So we're just building a little bit of momentum right now, not using the e-collar. As you can see, the transmitter's not anywhere in my hand. Rogue, here. Good. I'm also going to mention that we're doing this training session in the backyard. It's still fenced in and enclosed, so she can't just run off around the house and get away from me. But we need a little more space to work than what I have available inside the house. Rogue. Good. So we built some momentum here. Now I'm going to use the vibrate on the collar. And I'm going to try and remember to hold the collar up when I'm using the vibrate. You'll probably be able to see her reaction as well when she's feeling that vibrate, so that you can have a visual of when the collar's on and then when the collar's off. But sometimes I'm trying to think of a million things at once and I might not remember that part of it. So, Rogue. Rogue. Good. So she kind of kept coming to me, but wasn't quite all the way to me, and she'd turn back and look at her collar, turn back and look at her collar. Well, the collar never shut off until she got all the way to me. And I kept taking a few steps back, so there was some separation between us, so she knew to kept continuing to come all the way to me. So here she is. She's a little distracted, which will be a good point. Rogue here. Good. So she hardly even acted like she was feeling it that time, but I could hear it vibrating. She could definitely feel it vibrating. And she came right to me. Rogue. Good. Again, she's coming in, touching my hand for that target here. Then she's getting that treat reward, as well as the collar shutting off at the same time. We've got a lot of room to work, so I'm going to kind of step back from the camera a little bit so that we've got a little bit bigger area that I can work with her in. Rogue. Rogue. Good. So she got a little distracted, was a little bit slow about coming to me, but I was able to continue holding that vibrate until she got all the way to me. Rogue. Good. So as you saw, she was headed straight for the camera, and I was able to actually turn her around when I turned that vibration on, and she turned around and came straight back to me, which is exactly what we want to see. We want to see that understanding of the collar. Rogue. So she's feeling vibrate. Rogue. So she saw Ethan over there was a little more distracted about the situation, but I just kept holding the vibrate, said her name again as a focus redirector until she turned, looked at me, and I could call her back. Rogue. Good. Good girl. So Rogue's doing really well with this collar conditioning process. We're just using the vibrate. Rogue, here. Good, good. As soon as she gets to me, the collar shuts off. Good. And I think got a few more treats. But now that she's getting a pretty good understanding of turning the collar off by coming to me, I don't need to overlay with the treats anymore. You can, it's definitely not a bad thing, giving her some attention and some positive reinforcement for that as well, but she doesn't need it anymore. Here. Good, good. So she didn't get a treat that time, just some attention. I'm gonna let her wander off here a minute and get a little distracted before I call her back to me. Rogue. Good. And you brought me a rock. What a good girl. So the basics of retrieving, we're doing that as well. So get rid of that rock. We'll do a few more reps here. Rogue. Here. Good girl. Good girl. Good. Good girl. Okay. Rogue. Here. Good girl. Good. So she's doing really well with the collar conditioning to recall. And what that means is we're going to be able to use that collar conditioning. Rogue, here. Good. In higher distracting situations where she's running around the side of the house, if I have her e-collar on her, I can call her back. And because I don't have a treat or anything like that, she might not want to listen, but when I have that e-collar on her, she knows how to shut that stimulation off by complying, and we'll just be able to continue to build some reinforcement, build some reps, and condition this process even further. Now, we're in a controlled environment, the backyard right now, and she's doing a great job. That's not to say we go outside with other dogs and other stimuli that she's not going to get distracted, and vibrate might not be enough in those situations. But we want to build some consistency, continue this conditioning process in kind of these lower level distraction situations. And then once we've got a really good recall with those situations, we can go outside into the yard with bigger distractions, and we can use levels of stimulation. So if she gets super distracted and vibrates not quite enough, that's when we can say, hey, now with the conditioning we've done, you're ready to feel a little bit of stimulation. You still know how to comply with the collar and do what you already know how to do, which is recall. We're just upping that level of stimulation as necessary with those distracting levels. So we will keep working on this conditioning process. It's going to be a great tool for finishing that retrieve and having her come all the way back as well. So those are things that we're going to be working on and showing you in some next videos.